Greetings to everyone who stumbled on this video. I am going to try and explain how you can use the vocal melody in songs like we're going to use Scarlet Begonias today to play around and improvise over the chord progression. As a lot of people know, learning the vocal melody is good for a lot of things. It can be the structure of the solo, with, variations and whatnot. A lot of times I think of solos as either playing with the vocal melody or against the vocal melody, as weird as that sounds. But exactly a week ago, I posted a video on Fire, and it had been my first video back in years. Wasn't really sure what people were looking for, and I got some great constructive feedback about what people want and how we can kind of go about this. So instead of being all scatterbrained like I was there, I have a lesson plan for us. And if I can learn to figure out the YouTube timestamps, I plan on, hopefully you're viewing it now and there's timestamps so you can skip to whatever part you want. First, I think it's important to talk about the chords, the scale / mode and inversions and whatnot. And then from there, you can kind of go into, or we can go into some of the riffs he uses in the song and how those follow that. So long story short, got a notepad this time, and we're going to go basics to advanced, and hopefully I can figure out how to do the timestamps. But anyways, the main chords to this song: B, A, and E, all major. So depending on your music theory knowledge, that is either called B mixolydian or E major. It really depends on what the home base is. Here, quite clearly, it's B, right? Even in the verse sections, when it's going from E, B, to me, it sounds like this is our home bass chord. You can view it however you want, though. You could view it as E major. You could view it as B mixolydian. You could view it as A Lydian. Whatever makes it make sense to your brain. The first thing you want to do, and if people want me to get even more basic than this, explain where these chords come from, the modes, please let me know that as well, and I can back up even further if anybody wants that in specific videos. But so those are the three main chords. Besides, when it goes to the bridge, there's some new chords, and we'll talk about that. But what the first thing we want to do is take each chord, figure out the notes that are in the scale, and figure out the notes that are in the chord. So let's start with the notes that are in each chord. So the B major chord, we have the B as a root, we have D sharp as a major third, and we have F sharp as the perfect fifth. A major, we have A as the root, C sharp as the major third, and then we go up to E. Sorry, checking my notes. I want to stay on track here. So B, D sharp, F sharp, A, C sharp, E, and then the E would be E, G sharp, B. Now, if you put those all together in a scale, you'd get 4 sharps. Let's start. It's nice that this is an E because you can just hit the E string and think, okay, there's a F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp. So the sharps are F is sharped, G is sharped, C is sharped, and D is sharp. Again, I can make a more basic video, but if you're wondering where I'm getting those frets from, there's a formula for the major scale. which is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So I'm basically, and half means 1 fret away, whole means 2 frets away. So I'm using that formula, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And that's an easy way for me to figure out the notes that are in my scale, or the scale that we want to use. So fire is also in B mixolydian. This is, why they put them together a lot. So we have B, A, and E, and we know the notes in each of those chords. And if you notice, a lot of you probably know this, but all the notes in those chords are in the scale. So to start off basic, the one thing I would do, two things I would do is arpeggios and just chord shapes. Let's take E for example. Try to see how many different inversions of E you can play, how many different ways you can organize the notes. And remember, to make an E triad, we need to have an E, a G sharp, and a B, all 3 of those notes somewhere in there. So I could play it like that. I could play it like that. Play it like that. Play like that. Play like that. See how there's a lot of different ideas you could come up with? Knowing this is very helpful, because then when you're soloing, if you're used to boxes and playing around in the boxes, you can kind of identify where these notes are. So do the same thing for B, and you'll start to see patterns. It's the cage system. But again, I'm going to classify that, and if you don't understand that, write a comment down below. We can do a video on it. For example, this is the E shape of the cage system. This is the C shape of the cage system. The D one's a little odd, but that'd be the D. So each of them, the guitar has a lot of, or it's all movable shapes, I should say. But again, if you want me to go into that further, write that down below. I get the sense that a lot of people maybe know these things, so I kind of wanted to focus on some of the more advanced stuff as we keep going along. So, the classic right out of mixolydian, right out of that scale. What are we doing though? Something that Jerry loves to do. We're hitting this B on the low E string. And another trick I give people, if you're new and you can't figure out what notes, there's diagrams everywhere online, but put a tuner on, hit the notes, see what it says, until you start to get used to just being able to name each fret immediately. So we start on this B note, and this is a concept not just Jerry, but all blues players love. Going from the minor to the major third. So the minor third in B would be the D note. It's D sharp in the B major chord. The only thing that changes from major to minor is the third is lower in the minor chord, and it's 1 step up in the major chord. We call it a flat 3 or a minor 3 in the minor chords. So he's hitting this B on the low E string, and then he's hammering on the D to D sharp to give you that lots of, fun, stuff you can do with that kind of minor to major third. And then on the D string, we have F sharp, skip over G to G sharp, and then A. So A is especially of note because, and I talked about this in the fire video, but that is the note that makes it B mixolydian and not B major, that one single note. Because typically in a major key, we have major seventh. In mixolydian, we lower the seventh. So in a major scale, we'd have in mixolydian, see that one note just being changed there? So the chords right before that are the chords I described in the beginning. I'm following the notepad as best as I can. But that's like the intro of the song. Sometimes you'll hear Jerry start that out even before Bobby's part. So I thought we could transition from the chords into how it fits with the song. So what I'm doing there is B to E, and then B to A. B, and it's a little bit, the timing isn't exactly even, The E and the A are kind of like toggling back to the B. Maybe toggle is not the best word, but the B is the focus. And Jerry does this while Bobby does the using the mixolydian scale. I believe I have a lesson on this on my channel already, but these are just octaves. This is starting at the octaves of E, 9 on G and 12 on E, sliding down, and then hitting the same octave on D and B. So, and then the rest of it's on the A and the G string. So I'm not going too in depth in this because, like I said, I believe I have another video on this, but the whole point is he's using B mixolydian. Since it's mainly B in the beginning, there is this E in A, but like I said, toggle was probably an awful word, but it's kind of using the E and the A to get back to the B more than anything, not to explicitly stay on them for long. Later on in the song, we're going to stay on them longer. For example, after that intro, it goes to an E chord. And now this is where I see a lot of people get mixed up, or at least people I've talked to in real life and even online. The way I hear it is that B comes in like an eighth note early. So instead of like, which would be on the beat like 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Listen to how I'm going to come in early to it. The vocal melody, you'll see how that kind of fits with that as well. Excuse me looking over so much, but to continue on with the verse, to the E. So that part is A, E, E, A, and then the second time just hangs out on this E and when I play these parts with bands, I'll call them hits. You know, they kind of accentuate that E, like. You know, so A, E, E, A, stay on E, back to A, E, D, A, stay on E, go to B, and this is held out. And then I like to make it a 7th chord. Another sign that you're in Mixolydian, because in a major key, the first chord could never be a dominant 7th chord. It would be a major 7th chord. But we can use that A in the B7 to kind of build tension on that. So again. And again, I won't go over it again, but take these chords and figure out, you know, how many inversions you can play of them. It's very important. And then when you do that, a good suggestion is also find arpeggios. So for like B, there's a lot of different ones you can do. So you just want to kind of locate the chord tones on the neck of your guitar, and you can get really creative with it. And then if you're in a specific position on guitar, you can try to target those notes. Now, the bridge of the song goes to an F sharp. Now that's a little bit of a surprise, mainly because F sharp has an A sharp as a third in the chord. So it's one of those things where we learn the rules so we can break the rules, if that makes sense, you know. So that's an F sharp chord. B, A, E. And then we do a very similar lick to the, on the E we do. So I'm hitting open E, doing another, all these have that minor to major third. But instead of in the beginning, he lands on the 7th, now we're going to land on the octave. Instead of... And I'm sure you can hear why he chose the octave over the ladder right there. So then we climb up. E. And then I use this position as I'm climbing up. I'll hit this F sharp with this finger. That's the minor, the major third. Then you go to the 5th fret, A, and do it. B. So, to recap, B, A, E, F sharp, B, A, E, or whatever you want to do. So that follows the theory nicely. He's thinking of each chord individually, and even though the patterns are the same, we're hitting the root of each chord. We're sliding into the major third. The third is arguably the strongest note in chords. Fifths are usually the ones, perfect fifths, that I don't want to say aren't needed, but the third will give you the strongest, let's say I have an E chord. Bending into that third sounds great. So when I say it's great to land on perfect fifths and soloing, when I say not needed, I mean if you're comping or a rhythm player, it's you don't really need the root, and the fifth is the bass is covering that a lot. The third, think about how one note changes a chord from major to minor. That's a big lesson to get in. I'm sure a lot of you know that, but if you don't, again, leave a comment. Let me know if you want me to simplify it even more. So we went over explanation of chords, inversions and arpeggios, the leads in the song. Like I said, if you want to go back to the... Whoops. It's on my channel somewhere. So let's see what we got here. The main kind of thing I wanted to talk about, because more than one person mentioned it, was vocal melody. So I want to kind of talk about how I figure it out by myself, because, these are not things you can easily look up and here's the vocal melody to Grateful Dead. Maybe Ripple or very, popular songs, you'll find lead sheets and whatnot, but you might as well learn how to figure it out on your own. So this is what I do. I'm not a great singer, but I do sing in bands, whether it be harmonies or I do sing lead vocals as well. And for this song, if you saw in the intro preview, I tried to add the vocal part in at the A, which is an example of what I'm trying to get into. Let's take the chords and really think about this for a second. So we're starting on, and we want to start from the verse and figure out the melody, because that's what the vamp is for the solo, is all the way through and then it repeats. The bridge, you could learn the vocal melody to that. That'd be a great thing to help you out, but for soloing, the improvisational section is usually just those three chords. So I will hit the E major, excuse me, and think, as I was walking, and I think of what note am I hitting? I'll even stop, and I know it's probably going to be one of the notes in this E chord, E, G sharp, or B. So if I just play this chord, if I can get that note to not that, no, sounds right, but wrong octave. And then from there it makes it much easier. And then I'll start singing. Notice he uses that note. As I was walking round, and then the melody starts to go up and down. So that is from me just singing, and I'm not a great singer. I'm still working on it. As I was walking round Grosvenor Square, and that's what I meant earlier. See how that note's a little bit early? Now, that's a B note. So he's landing right on that B when the B chord comes. I mean, you could argue the B note is the fifth of the E chord, but I think it's pretty obvious that change is meant to come an eighth note early. So like I said, sing it. As I was walking around Grosvenor Square, not a chill to the window, but a nip to the air. And sometimes I won't get every note perfectly, but that's the beauty of it, right? When we improvise, you could just, or you could, have more fun with it. You can always bring things up an octave, like make variations, Over the A section, I know he's probably singing a note in the A chord. Going through all the notes to see which one sounds right. It's that C sharp. Look at it. He's hitting a strong note, the third. From the other direction. That's how I think about it. It's going down. So this is where knowing the scales I brought up earlier comes in handy, because right off the bat which notes not to hit. So I would sing, if I got stuck here, from the other I just sing the next note, and match it. And this is a great technique to try to get it in your playing. She was calling my... Hear that? So we're starting on the major third of A. And then, after that, go back to the C sharp. Then I slide down to A and back up to B. So, and then again, could be an illusion, but I might as well try. And then I do might as well try. There's a lot of variations you can do at that last one, which is why I say I do that. Or just Jerry in general in the Grateful Dead music. You're not always going to get the perfect melody. Think of how often on live recordings Jerry sings it differently. But this is you just want the general bones of it. And if you notice, we ended up on an F sharp. And I won't even give the answer that time. See if you can figure out why these are all coming from the chords. Very conscious of the chord changes. So, like I said, I'll skip the bridge vocal melody, but the verse is the important one, since we're improvising over that, So once you learn the melody, do it in different octaves, like I said. Find all the different octaves you can and do it just to get your fingers used to. Just gives you a lot more options when you do it that way. Now, one of the last things I wanted to go over is soloing techniques. So, I'm sure you watched the preview of the video. If anything, I'm going to guess most people that didn't watch most of this stopped right after the preview, which is fine. But I used octaves there. So that means instead of just doing, I did. I don't really know if I need to explain octaves, if you can keep up with this already. I'd imagine you know how to play them. So 3 notes apart from the G string to the E string. And obviously it's 2 notes apart if it's on other strings, but I digress. See how nice that sounds? It's like almost gives us the West Montgomery vibes, you know? So, you know, octaves are great. Sequences are great. I did talk about that in my last video, though, if you want to check that out. I also went over more of the scales and everything. We're not going to go back into all that. But take a position of B mixolydian you're comfortable with, which is B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Same as the E major scale. And try to start, and a sequence is just a pattern. I guess the only problem with that is trying to land on chord tones. But again, I mentioned it in the other video. I think it's worth mentioning it again. If you hit a non-chord tone, but it's still in the scale, it's just an extension of the chord. It's just that the chord tones can be really powerful if you use them the correct way. So, I had cage system written down here, which we pretty much went over already, that when you're looking for arpeggios and chords, like take a single chord, you know, like C. How can we do this cage system of C? Well, here's the C shape of it. Cage stands for C, A, G, E, D. So then what's the A shape of this? G shape of this? That one can be a little tricky. Oh wait, what were we doing? B, I'm sorry. So that would be the G shape of the B, G shape in the cage system of the B major chord. E, and then D, it's very similar. I'd much rather, instead of using this D one, since you gotta move that finger down there, do the classic Bobby voicing, which is just an octave up from this. But to go back to some things you can do, you could also add double stops in as for soloing techniques, you know. I could just use this kind of thing to solo over a lot of like. And I guess I'm doing more 6, you can call them double stop, but I'll hit a note on the G string and then skip over to the E. But trying to think the last thoughts I can wrap this up with. So when you get the vocal melody, like I said, my thoughts are you're either playing with it or against it, if that makes sense. And it's fun to go back and forth between the two. Like in my preview video again, I just kind of did a lick in the beginning, and then when the next part came, I did the vocal melody. So I was playing against it, then with it. And then see how you can have variations. There's so many little things you can do. So what are we thinking when we're soloing? I'll end with this. So we're starting on an E. What I'm thinking is I pick an area of the fretboard that's comfortable for me. And I think, which is the 9th position. Position is where your index finger is at. Apologies if any of you know all this already. I'm trying to keep this in a better order, and I'm sure as I do it, I'll get better at it. Long story short, I am thinking E, okay, and I want to land on one of these notes. So I think, I can't remember, I improvised that preview, but I think I came in to that E with that minor to major third thing because it's an E chord. Then I bent to the major third, which I keep saying sounds good, of the E. And then I could do that Jerry tech. I try to think, where is the next? Jerry's probably thinking, anyone soloing, okay, I'm here, and the next chord coming up is a B. I gotta think fast if I want to, how to target that chord. So if I'm here, I just bent it. Yes, this is a note of B, it's F sharp, but I also think there's one here. And I love 3 frets away for Jerry stuff because you can do the. So I would start just targeting the notes in an inversion that you like. So I did mention I like it at the 9th fret personally, but I'm up at the 12th fret because I think it's a little bit easier and it's what I used in my preview. So like I'm going to target the 3rd, the root, and then bending into the 3rd again. And then adding other notes, that's what makes it. It's not just the chord tones, it's everything in between. The chord tones are meant to land on the downbeat. Or like earlier, if the chord changes an 8th note early, make it land there. Like, try to get it to be exactly where that chord is changing. But if I was at the 9th fret, I would think could slide into the solo like that. And now I'm on the root of the chord. And these are all good notes. So I think where my E major is here. So if I'm if I'm thinking E major and thinking this voicing, I could start on the E here and then slide into this. And then I think of where's a close chord tone. Well, I like the 3 fret away one again. If that makes sense. So that's one of the things I did, was mapped it out on the bottom here. I don't know if that's reverse or not, but you gotta think, okay, E, G sharp, B, D sharp, F sharp, A sharp, E, and then yes, when we get to the F sharp chord, it has that weird A sharp, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna start like I'm thinking of this chord. So E, I'll slide, I'll hit the root note, slide. Could do the minor, major third there. And then when I land on this note, if you know your arpeggios, that's a B, which we went over earlier. If I wanted to do a little bit more of the vocal melody, I could do a tasty bend. So like. And then go into. And so a good thing is to try to play with the chord changes and add a little bit in, like so. back to E, so I'm going to aim for the E note. B, land on the third of B. And this all comes from me knowing that's a B chord there, and this is E. So I could do. So see how important it is to know how to kind of, knowing your chords all over the neck, knowing your scale shapes. All that is very important. But I want even more constructive feedback to close this video out. Thank you all for the warm welcome back. I've been really busy the past few years. I'm very grateful with how great my life has been going, for those of you who have asked and are wondering, and maybe we fell out of touch, but I want to consistently keep making videos, and I'm thinking this is maybe a little bit of a better idea to do videos like this. And I can still, like I said last video, I'm sitting on probably 50 to 100 cherry solos. So maybe I could take one of those, go over the vocal melody, and explain how that all ties together. Shorts, I'm not sure I'd post for that, but I appreciate you guys watching this content and giving me feedback. Hopefully this video was a little bit more put together. Thanks, guys.